You're trying to insinuate that because a woman carried a child for 9 months, she's better off taking care of the children.
At the first day
Of
that
course,
I
you're not
saw that, I
comfortable
almost
with
had a
that. It's
heart
new.
attack.
It's a new dynamic of
They
what.
have to
Okay.
have a woman in there, right?
Oh, well, yeah, they have a
They can have
woman.
two
Just
women. They can have two women teachers, but they're never gonna have two men.
hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Living African. And today we will be shedding more light on fatherhood from an African father's perspective. And I would rather say a millennial father. And so today I have Harry Asanji here with me today, and I look forward to our conversation. So Harry actually is usually or commonly called Treize Quatorze, which is 13, 14 in English. That's the French version of that. And he's a father of four amazing girls. He lives with his family in a small village outside of Chicago, where they have opened an African grocery store. As an IT expert by trade and a nurse on some days, Harry is actually a seasoned community organizer, and he is passionate about social activities and enjoys interactive debates and conversations. So, Harry, hi, and thank you so much for coming on today. I look forward to our debates and conversations for sure. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, Anyoh, and thanks for having me on Living Africa. It's always been. I remember the first time
This conversation with you because I definitely know that you have interesting outlooks on every
sure
topic
do.
that we talk about. I always listen, I'm like, oh my God, how did he, why is he, like, I have so many questions. So hopefully we can answer all of that today, right? So let's
Sure thing,
go
sure thing.
straight into it. How is fatherhood for you?
The most important thing for a man, right? Being responsible for little people that you make their decisions as they grow, and then at some point you relinquish that decision making process back to them as they get into a bracket where you feel like you've impacted them with a lot of knowledge and they can now run on their own. So fatherhood for me is just it's just like a builder, right? You build a beautiful house, an architect, I would say that.
Yeah.
You build, you have the plan, you build, you meet up with somebody, you guys build that plan together, and you're the architect. You put the pieces together, and then finally this beautiful structure standing looking at you, and then you're able to hand it over to the world to appreciate the work of art that you've actually done. So for me, that's how I regard fatherhood.
Amazing, amazing. And you are a girl dad, right?
Yes, of
And
course.
how has it been
Yes.
so far, being a father or a parent to four girls?
it's it's interesting because I have from a teenager to is it a toddler? The youngest one is 3. So I've seen all of them before, but it's just being it's different now to see at all of them at different places, the different attitudes, the different ways of looking at stuff, and with all girls, and me being an African too, being a little too protective,
Yeah,
right? Um, the conflicts are just beginning to start, right?
right.
The Western pushback and the African pushback is just beginning to start, and I'm hoping that we can find a middle ground,
Right, right,
right? I don't know how I'm gonna give up because I also, when there's a pushback, I also push back a little bit too. So I'm hoping that we find a middle ground so it doesn't go off the rails. But I'm looking forward to an interesting next couple of years as all of them go into their teenagehood and it becomes a little mini Iraq in my house. Yeah.
right. That must be interesting. Talking about like the African pushback in your words, or at least like your African orientation, like what beliefs, especially I would say what African beliefs have conditioned your outlook on fatherhood and parenting? Like what kind of values do you think are very important to pass onto your kids, and what kind of values that you learned growing up have shaped your outlook on fatherhood?
Discipline. And discipline in the sense that not yelling or whooping, but just individual discipline, right? Like understanding that you have to be on time, right? Um, I need my girls ready at certain times, so we're going to school and they're at school because they go to school 30 minutes from the house. Unfortunately, we're not talking about that. My political view does not allow me personally to put my kids in public school, so I have to work really hard to put them in the kind of schools that I want, that they will get the groundings that I feel like they should get. I do not trust public schools in the state that I live in, right? To but eventually they need to be public trained when they go to college and stuff. But so because of that, I have to drive 30 minutes just to take them. There's no bus to pick them up. So I have to drive them that far to drop them at school every day. So I need them to be disciplined to understand this. But I'm dealing with an 8 and a 10-year-old
Yeah.
um who has to work with these timelines, right? And some days they're fight, some days I understand that at the end of the day it's still an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. So that discipline, I want them to be able to understand that this is what's going to guide them through life, right? That they have to be punctual, they have to be respectful. One of the most important little values that I had to instill in my girls is knocking on the door before entering. I visited a lot of homes and kids just walk through the door, right? Um, for me, it was something that I was not just gonna be okay with, that my kids can just walk into my bedroom, right? So for me, we fought. I was like, nope, I don't want. You know how they
Yeah.
come in and they're ready to just start telling you what it is that they want to tell you, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not listening. No,
Yeah.
that door, you have to knock that door before I would listen. They will get
Right.
frustrated, but eventually, um, now they knock before they come in.
Yeah.
But then I have to restart the process because there's a new person in the game, the 3-year-old who thinks that she's the sheriff, and and you could really see the distinction, right? The other two, when they try to come in my room, the sheriff bolts the door and just is leading the charge. The other two, they're like, no, we're not supposed to go in here, right? You can see them hanging outside, right? So I feel like I've impacted them, but now I have to restart again because I have to go back to the 3-year-old and say, yes, ma'am, go back out and knock. Right. So values of respect, right? Understanding that the younger one needs to respect her elder sister, the older one needs to respect the next one, and then they need to respect us, right? And respect everybody. We're still answering the question, who's this person? Why are they called an uncle? Why are they called an auntie? How are they related to you? Why am I calling your friend an uncle? You understand? Like things like that. That we grew up, we didn't ask. They just told us this an uncle, that's an auntie. Voila, it was ready to go, and nobody asked those questions. But now we're having to answer. I'm having to answer. My wife and myself, we're having to answer these questions. So I feel like it's working, but with their own culture as well that they've grown is also something that it's continuous learning. So the values of respect, discipline, and a fighter's drive is, it's like wanting to always achieve something, be something of importance in the world, and contribute the things that I would like to see in my daughters, in my girls. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much for saying that. Now, with respect to, you know, the culture and also your political views, like you had said, I mean, it's, what a time to be alive, right? especially, especially in the Western side of the world.
Yes.
So how do you maneuver or at least mitigate um just the chaos that happens outside, like out of the house in the environment? Or at least, how do you try to educate or raise your daughters in a way to appreciate the differences that are happening between your upbringing and theirs, and also try to be respectful of, or at least challenge, the cultural and political status quos that are in our society right now?
Interesting question, and it's very difficult, right? Well, the first thing I did was I cut off cable in our house when Trump got elected,
Mhm.
right? So we've not had cable TV So we don't watch the CNNs, the MSNBC, anything, right?
Right.
We need internet for work and we need internet for them,
Yeah.
right? So we had Netflix and a bunch of other things that can be educated for them. But TV as a whole, I don't think that I've watched. If I watch CNN, it means I'm in some other person's house, right?
Hmm.
So that was one of the things. So my kids are not exposed to the news, the 24 cycle news in this country. And I'm not exposed, and I feel like just by cutting that off, um, the
Yeah.
stress that used to come in, just for me, you know how you get frustrated when you're hearing those things. They're gone. I'm not even worried about, I don't think that I miss anything.
Hmm.
Um, so that was one thing too, and I feel like your mental health gets better when you cut off the cable, when you're not seeing a- all of this anxiety. They're constantly making you feel like there's a nuclear bomb about to go off tomorrow, right? So without that, everybody's calm. You don't care, nothing is really happening. Next thing, we cut off local news because we live in Illinois, we live in Chicago, close to Chicago, and Chicago news is depressing because
Yeah.
it's constantly somebody got shot, like 100 people got shot, 200 kids. That's what you're constantly consuming every day. And I don't want to expose my kids to that. So I cut off cable, cut off news, cut off everything. So we watch, they're on their tablets, they play games, or they are learning something, or, and like I said, you said, you give the intro, we live in a small town, 5,000 people. So it's really, really remote, and they play in the woods. They're about to start building some stuff in the summer. We're getting ready to send them out to summer camp. Of course, they're going to meet people that are different from them, and they're going to come back and ask us those questions. And respectfully, we'll give them answers as, hey, some people, some people are this way, some people are that way. You have to respect everybody. But the thing I don't want is, I don't want some other person to give that information to my kids. I want to be able to be at a point where I answer those questions for them.
Right.
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 I have a very curious one, my 8 year old. She if she I when she would ask you a question, you need to brace yourself, right? Before when you hear the question, it hits you like a shock,
Hmm.
right? And everybody that has dealt with this child says the same thing. Like, her question, when she's ready to ask you a question, you pause, and then you're like, okay, let me let me let me know what
Gotta
I'm
tread
going to
lightly,
say to
right?
her. Yeah, yes, she is an amazing griller, right?
Hmm.
And most often she knows the answer of what she just wants to hear your own perspective, because
Hmm.
you would hear her follow-up question, and then you know that this girl is not just asking some dumb question, right? Like, she has thought about it, she has answers, but she wants to hear your take. So you have to be very careful,
Hmm.
you have to calm down, say woosah, and then and then you start giving the answers, right? So yeah, so it's very difficult to say we're just going to shield the kids and hide them from everything that's going on. But I want to. My biggest thing with the public schools are the teachers are empowered to explain everything to them and just indoctrinate them. So I want to take the powers from the teachers. That's why they really don't go to public schools.
Hmm.
I want to take the powers from teachers, basically just indoctrinating my kids, and then I and my wife have that responsibility to educate the kids, and any question that they have should first come from us, or at least another family member that we trust, because when they're not with us, they're with other families, and I don't really know what they see in those homes, and they might ask questions. But when it's a family, we're having these conversations, and we're all in the same kind of place where we want our kids to have the same kind of values and stuff, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's the only way. But I cannot keep lying myself and be like, oh, they're not gonna see things. And I'm not gonna give my kids, the older one is not having a phone till she's 13. So that's another angle where I am totally opposed to kids having phones in this country until they're at least 13
Yeah.
or 14, because there's no way that my kids go there. I'm not there, my wife is not there, or some really close relative is not there.
Right.
So I don't know why they're gonna need a phone. So
Right.
those kind of things.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's very refreshing to hear you say these things. And while you were talking, it just got me wondering. Well, not wondering, but I was just reflecting. And, I've realized that a lot of fathers in our generation, or at least in these times, are more hands-on than like our parents' generation. Like our parents' generation where was actually very traditional in the sense that, the mom is usually domesticated. Even if she has a job, she's the one who has to take care of the kids, and the mom is always closer to the kids, and the dad is strictly the provider. Like dads would never even change a diaper or even spend time with the children or even like cook or prepare food for the kids or anything. In fact, the dad would never even enter the kitchen. I mean, maybe it's still happening in our generation, especially for those who are back home in Africa. But of course, it's probably something that's almost impossible, which it still does happen here in the West, but it could be very challenging if all the responsibilities are on the woman and she's not getting any help from a man, especially when they're together. Now, like, what is your outlook on, you know, dads who are not as hands-on? And also, what kind of advice will you give? And also, what is just your outlook look in general on fatherhood, like in previous generations versus now?
Um, I grew up with a very that the kind of father that you described. He was there, very present for disciplinary issues. That's what most fathers were present for, especially when you had three boys and two girls. Their work. Most fathers only saw their work as the disciplinarian, the loud voice. Hey,
Yeah, the authoritarian.
did you hear what? Yeah, did you hear what your mother said? Go do it. But for us now in the West, that we have gotten so hands-on, especially when we started where we were supposed to be in the hospital and see the birth of our kids, right? That's for me, that's where it started, right? That whole process changes you because you have to understand that a new person is born when the child is born. That person did not exist before. Before it was just me, Harry. I was just existing with my girlfriend. When the child is born, a new person that's called a mother is born, and a new person called a father is born. Your responsibilities change, and everything about your life begins to transition because in regards to that new person that has added in your life. So you start to see. I remember one time I was just stressed. We used to live in Oklahoma City, and my daughter was born. And I told my wife I need to go get some fresh air. So I went to the club with a few of my friends, and she stayed home. The child was crying, and she had done everything. She was really getting frustrated and everything. And she texted me, and she's like, "Hey, your child is out here crying and everything, and I don't know what else to do." So I just told my guys, "Hey, I got to run back home. The baby's giving my wife stress." So I have a terrible voice. I cannot sing. Every time I try to join the choir, they would say, "Harry in that choir, get him out, get him out, get him out." I cannot sing bass. I cannot sing anything. My voice is just terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So I got home. It was about 2 a.m. in the morning, and she is crying. And I just put her next to my shoulder, and I'm singing Dombolo songs there. Dombolo with my terrible voice. And you could see her just melt in my shoulders, right? Just melt on it. And then she stops. And my wife is like, "Really? Really?" And I'm not singing like none of these
No
soothing
lullaby
songs,
or anything.
baby. I am singing Coupe de Calypso. That's
Afrobeats.
what I was. Afrobeat was not even a jam back then. It was talking 10 years ago, right? So
Oh
I'm singing. So, and you just see her tuck her head in there. And then next thing, she passes out. It was just the strangest feeling for me. I loved it,
my
right?
god.
Like how she connected with my voice, my terrible voice. I was like, I found somebody who's a fan of my voice. Like somebody that actually loves my voice, right? And that's like it was beginning to
Oh.
just crush me that my daughter actually everybody's like, I beg no sing ya, just leave the thing, no sing, no force am. No.
Oh my
And
gosh.
now my infant baby is just cuddling and just melting to my voice. And I'm like, oh
Oh my
God, this is
goodness. It
amazing,
was
right?
worth leaving the club, right?
Right, right, right. But and to the other point, I when I started seeing a bunch of females say they celebrating themselves on Facebook as fathers, right? And I probably will come into that. And I did brand. I'm one of the people on Facebook. I did brand these people that as organizationals. Why I don't know. The name just came to my head, and I it was a combination of them and feminists, and I just made a name. I called them organizationals. That name ran like wildfire. So we're trying to put up the fire that single mothers were trying to claim that they're fathers because they claim they do both roles, right? I guess we'll talk about the role of a father really in that case because we'll talk about that down the road, I guess. So I started that pushback that no, you are not a father, you're an amazing mother, you're an amazing single mother, but that's what you're just gonna be. You're always just going to be an amazing, phenomenal, hardworking single mother, right? You don't embody or you don't even begin to understand what it is to be a father, to say you're a father, right? And so um, other fathers began to join in. And then I sat back and I looked and I said, but real, I hear my friends talk. Oh, I take Peking go swimming. I'm taking them for their sports activity. I'm doing this. I'm taking my kids to bath so they can go sleep. Some are reading stories. And we don't know all of this stuff
Right.
because we didn't grow up with involved fathers like that, right?
Yeah.
Our fathers worked, but we went to our moms for
Everything.
literally everything,
Yeah.
right? Even those whose parents were in the healthcare, like my father was in the healthcare sector, but we go to my mom when we're sick, right? Mommy,
Yeah.
I'm not feeling fine,
Yeah.
right? There was literally nothing. We knew that he paid the tuition. We knew that he was the one working and the money. But when we needed money stuff, mother, anything, mother, every, even when she was not around,
Yeah.
she had traveled. When is mommy coming back? We're only in
Yeah.
the house with him. Oh, she's gonna come back. When is she coming back? Right? Okay. So you begin to see how involved we are, and I want men to embrace this, right? You should be in your child's life because your child looks up to you, right? Your child wants you to be in their life, right? It's forget about providing and protecting. They want their craving for your attention, right? Kids are amazing people. You can take a kid. I could send my kids to my elder sister financially well, a bigger house. She does all the crazy things that you would do with kids, auntie kind of stuff, right? They will go to Disney, they will do all the kind of amazing stuff that aunties do. After 1 week, they're like, we want to go back home, right? Kids don't really get attracted with all of those things, right? You take a poor kid, they'll enjoy all of those fancy things for a week or 2 weeks. After that, they're gonna tell you that, hey, I want to go back to my dad, I want to go back to my mom, right? Because they love where they're coming from, right? They love their situation, their little one-bedroom apartment, their little condition, they're happy there because they have love, right? And for a child, that's the most important thing. And when they don't have love from their father or from their mother, that is the one thing that destroys a child more than any other thing. So a man who's not in his child's life, I don't even begin to understand how you make that decision. I don't even begin to understand how you sit and you're like, oh, it's been, I have this kid that I don't even know anything. I don't even care. Like how is that even possible? Right? And I want men to embrace that because it sets you differently. Like you work hard. Like for me, I work hard to make them see that this is how you have to just because you're their role model. So they learn, you're their first role model. They learn everything from you, right? So I try to have men, and I'm thinking about starting a podcast too, where we want to talk about these issues, especially these issues where we have men who are hands off, right? Who who don't really care. And African men, the younger ones, with the Western influence, they see us. We're sharing pictures of our daughter, me and my girls. We're going to the pool and all. We're traveling around the world, we're sharing that, and it piggybacks, right? The African men are also looking at it and be like, okay, I will do this thing for my kid because they see everything. Everybody's copying. We learn from them, they learn from us. And so increasingly now you're seeing the younger generation of African men be engaged in their kids' life, right? And we need to encourage more men to be that, to know your child through and through, I mean, in this country, you tell your child, "I love you" like 1 million times, right? Ah, you know, I love you. You
Yeah.
love, love is
It's not that
right.
common in back home though. Not at least not in Cameroon, especially with the male authoritarian and male chauvinistic communities back home. Like the men always want to keep that outlook of themselves as being in charge and having that authority. So they don't want to show emotion because they probably think it makes them
It's
weak,
weak,
you know? So saying I love you is like mushy to them and they don't want to, stoop down to say it. And I mean, it could be that as well, and also it's a cultural thing. Like in our culture, we did not really grow up showing that emotion of love to one
right?
another. We show it through
Right.
action, but not through words.
Not through words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but then things are changing, and I'm really glad things are changing for sure. And it starts with us, obviously. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That was very insightful. Now, talking about the role of a mother and a father, okay, let's get into that, right? In your own opinion and based on your outlook, what do you think the role of a father should be defined as versus the role of a mother? And when do things start getting blurry or at least getting not good when those roles are being mixed up or challenged?
So when you did the brilliant analysis of saying our mothers back home were very, they did everything. They were super women, right? So if we look at that and we just understand that they say a father is supposed to provide, but I think that people are mixing up the role of a man or a father, right? Because they say a man is a provider and a protector, right? But a man also doubles as a father because only a man can become a father. So if we go back to see how we thought our mothers paid, they were the ones who were always coming to visit us at school, paid tuition, they were the superhuman, superwoman person, right? And then we would generally say most of us were raised by single mothers, although we had fathers who were in our life. If we just look at our African upbringing, right? But which is not the case because our fathers were very just disciplinarians. Hey, like I said, right? Um, but that's not the case. That's not what a father's role is not. The child does not care that my dad is paying my tuition or is the one paying for the house or all of that stuff. My dad is there. My dad is present. I see my dad and I wanted so badly to be like my dad. Me, my dad was my role model, right? I everything that he did, my dad knew how to dance. They would organize parties at home, and I made sure that I wanted to dance like him. I wanted to be fashionable like him. When I was a teenager, I would rock my dad's clothes because he was stylish and all that kind of stuff, right? He was my role model. I did not care. It was not, I was never looking at it like, oh my God, is he providing? Is he the one paying for my tuition? Everything that I needed else in life, I went to my mom, but I wanted to be like him, right? So was that a case of saying that he was doing some specific function? I just knew that this man was like, and everywhere I went, they said, "Oh my God, you look like him so much. You look like him. You look like him. You look like him." That's all I kept hearing. So if I look like him, it means I want to be like him, right? Exactly. And then as you grow up, there's some things you learn about him, your parents, and then you're like, oh, okay, this part of you I don't want anymore. So,
That's true. Yeah,
right? Right? When you're a young 6, 7 year old, he's your superhero. And that's what I want every child to see in their father, right? The same, a father is a girl's first love,
yeah,
right? There are tons of videos on TikTok, on different social media platform where you see little girls when the mom is coming to give a peck to her husband, and she's like, she
yeah,
pushes her mom, and she doesn't want to anybody around her father, right?
yeah,
You think that little baby cares that he's providing, he's a protector? No, this is her man.
yeah.
This one belongs to her. You understand? Nobody needs to interfere. No, there's nobody that she doesn't care that you're the husband. No, I don't know all of this stuff, right?
Hmm.
And that's how kids see father, right? This is my superhero. This is the man who's there when I need him. There's a video I just shared on Facebook where there's a girl who's a cook and she's trying to, one of these time shows, right? And she's trying to open a can of tomato or something, I don't know. And she tries, she can't open it. There are a bunch of people in the stand, the father, the mother, and a bunch of siblings cheering up on her. She runs to her father and he does the twist face, and then he finally twists open the can and he gives it back. I'm like, there are a bunch of people. The caption was like, there are a bunch of the people in this room, and she ran only to her father, right? There, maybe her husband was there or somebody, but she ran to her father. And then my feminists and organizationals come in to comment. They're like, oh, he was present. Oh, he grew up with her. Oh, he was very involved, and the argument starts and the back and forth, right? So, but it's not a. I don't see fathers like a provider and protector, right? I don't. That's a role that a woman can do. You do it right now. You when you start a show, you say, you have situations. You're with the baby and stuff. You are providing and protecting right this instance as a woman, as a mother. Are you then going to consider yourself that in the absence of him, you are now doubling as a father?
Well, not necessarily, of course not. I mean, um, I mean, I was first of all, I was looking at the biblical sense of it, and also just in terms of, and I feel like that sense has to be outdated as well. Just the whole idea of like, oh, the man has to provide and protect and stuff like that, because back then, a lot of men had the jobs and the women were the domesticated ones, like I said, in previous generations. Like my grandmother never went to school, and my grandfather was extremely educated. He was the one going to work. He was a Like back then you have the hunters. The women barely hunted. The women stayed at home, you know took care of the kids, of course. And if you're taking care of someone, you're obviously protecting them as well, right? So in the sense of being a provider and protector, that's basically, it's not like defined like, oh, this is what only a man should do, but it's just how the community saw that, as a whole. The men went out, they hunted to bring back food to provide for the family. And of course, a man is typically more powerful than a woman. So in case of danger, it's always a man that goes out there to protect his family from danger. So that's basically the sense I was talking about. But I totally get where you're coming from now. I believe we're talking in terms of homes that are, I don't like using the word, what's that word? I don't like using the word broken home, because even if a mother and father are not together, like, a home is still a home. You know, a child can still get all the love that they deserve in a home. I don't like really saying a broken home. I would just call it a home. But there's some deadbeat dads. Let's just cut straight to it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not all glossy. There's some deadbeat dads who um don't even, I won't say don't deserve to be in the child's life. They don't even want to be in the child's life. And now you have the mom trying to figure out a way to fill both shoes, for the child. Even though, to me, I believe that's impossible. There are just certain things that a man, like, only a man can do. And of course, there are certain things that only a woman can do. Even if a woman does what a man is doing, I believe that the impact is still different. you know your mother could have done every single thing that your dad could do for you, but your dad will still be your superhero. Your mom will not fill in that spot of your dad. And I also believe in, some of these things being the reason why some men and women who are grown have daddy issues. For example, I will not even go to mommy issues. But what is your outlook on, you know situations that, call for women who don't have the support of, like, the father of their children, or who are separated, on situations that call for them to want to be both mother and father? and also on situations that make them want to claim Father's Day.
Um, I sat back this Father's Day that just passed. It was last Sunday, right? I sat back, and so a week ago today. And I looked at a lot of the people that were doing that, and I've realized that right now there's a lot of attention seeking behavior, right? Some people just want that attention. I'm going to do this and then get the backlash and then get a following, a lot of likes, a lot of people are gonna come. Girl, do you? We support you. And then there are the people that are gonna come like me and be like, yeah, right, yeah, yeah, go and be a fatherless, right? So I think that a lot of that now, because the conversation has been had, even women are coming out and saying now that no, you cannot be a father. You had Mother's Day, and I think there's also Single Parents Day now. You guys have plenty of days. You cannot come and supplant yourself on this particular day. So, but like we said earlier, the men who are just deadbeat, and when you really look at it, right? I told a friend yesterday, and they were telling me a story. Say, I said I'm going on this show today to talk about Father's Day. So they're telling me that you're always supporting men blindly. I'm like, I don't support men blindly. And then they recounted a story of a man, like a father. And I sat back. I'm like, wait, is that really like a real story? Like that's a super deadbeat. Like I said, I have, because right, we hold each other accountable, right? We talk about our kids. Like I how am I having a friend who has kids and I talk about mine and you don't talk about yours. Like you understand? The first thing is how do you begin them? When I call Bohapa Ade, like what's up? How you? Right? And then the next thing, how picking them, right? And then you start to say what this one day, oh, yesterday was this one's birthday, we did this, we did that. Oh, you never even junior 4 yesterday, we run go ER. We we have there's none of my friends that I know, right, that has kids and we don't talk. So the one thing is, does the man have friends, right? That are inner circles, and do they push him? And it's like, why haven't you checked up on Mama lately, right? Uh, uh, his parents, because we're a community. We're not island. We're still a community even here. Your mother wants to be in her grandchild's life, right? So 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 for me, when they say there's a deadbeat, it's not just the man, it's his entire family and structure. That's how I look at a deadbeat. And that's why I believe that there's no deadbeat, because I know men who are not involved in their kid's life, but his siblings, every other person is involved. And slowly but surely he would want to go to his sister's house and see his child there. How do you meet your child in your sister or your little brother's house? Right? So when they say a man is a deadbeat, it means his mom is a deadbeat, his father is a deadbeat, all his siblings and his friends are all deadbeat, because neither one of them has pushed him enough to be like, you have to be a man. We're not going to be friends with you. It doesn't make sense that you're not in your child's life, right? Because you're depriving that child from us as well. The child doesn't know uncles and aunties and grandparents and everybody from this side of the family because of you, right? So and if they're in support of it, then they're all deadbeat.
Well, I mean, I would partially agree with what you said, and also disagree, just because there's certain times when the family has no control over, they could talk to the man, for example, however they want. They could do every single thing, but at the end of the day, they have no control over what transpires between the man and the woman and even the child. And they could innocently be also kept away from even seeing the child, especially if the family doesn't even get along with the man. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I feel like there's certain situations that could potentially be different, but I definitely see where you're coming from, especially when it has to do with deadbeat. Now, I have another question for you.
Right.
So I know you talked about having a conversation with your friends that you were coming on here, and they were saying you blindly support men and stuff like that. Now, what aspects of fatherhood do you believe in, or what aspects of fatherhood do you show or practice within your family that the typical African man would question or would judge you for that? Like, what values do you uphold that could potentially make, or what outlooks also that could potentially make you to be judged by maybe even your friends or, just a typical African man?
I don't know, but let me say this. First of all, I have a belief that if I walk into a house and the woman is not the boss of that house, I will automatically assume that this is an abusive home, right?
Mm,
Because I feel like a home is managed and governed by a woman, right? If I go and it's the man running the show, right? Even if my friends come, right, you still need to see the woman set things around and say, something, which one I want chop, which one I want drink. The man can go to his bar and get his things, but I don't want to see, I just really don't want to see that dominant. I feel like a home is a woman's space, right? And in some cases it's different when the woman is a little more, I always say more, a little more masculine, right? That she's the one who runs and the husband is a little, because I always feel like opposites attract, right? But mostly the man is masculine and then the woman is more reserved. So when I walk in a home and I see my friend is so dominant, I start to think about crazy things like, oh, okay, this one is a little over the top. I'm sure the wife doesn't even can even sit around with us and have conversation. When she's done, she has to go hide or something like that. So, but I don't want my kids, or I don't know any fatherly thing that I do. Because remember, again, there's not a standard from my own father or a lot of other fathers that we could say that when you hear African Americans talk, right, they would tell you, my dad took us fishing and
mm-hmm,
he taught me how to he showed me how to change oil and all. They have this narrative that they took me to my first ball game. I was playing soccer and my dad was like, no, this is bad. He whooped the sucker out of me, right? Right? It was all academics, right? And so there's really nothing that I look up to. I just feel like this is the first generation and we are reinventing ourselves, right? We're trying to balance our Africanness and our Western ways, right? And we're learning as we're going. I don't have no boys, so I don't have nothing to pass on to that boy, right?
mm-hmm.
So I can only pass on my fatherly love to my daughters. If I had a boy, I think my structure of being a father would be different, right?
In what
And
sense?
then
Oh,
uh,
I was saying, in what sense?
I because I would want him to understand how you treat a woman, how
Well,
you
yeah.
you interact with women, right? There's so many things that you pass. For my daughters, it's just what values you expect from a man. See, like if you're gonna have a man, how's a man treating you? How do you see your how do you what are you learning from the interactions between your mother and myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all those kind of things. And I'm I'm not friends with my kids. I don't believe in that kind of friendship. I'm
Yeah.
their father, right? If you need a friend, you have a bunch of your friends. But I'm an open space for you to come and have a conversation with me.
Yeah.
But I'm always going to see it as a father.
Yeah.
I don't believe in I don't believe in lowering myself down to them so we have an eye to eye conversation. Anytime they want to talk to me, I'm available. We have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be, and we have this when we're driving, it's a long drive to school, so we have these conversations every morning, right?
Yeah.
It's they're looking up to it, they're like, Dad, what are you telling us this morning, right? So I think about something. So I don't know, it's work in progress, it's continuous learning. I'm learning,
Yeah.
right, on being this new father that was a little different from my father, right? um I love my dad, but I just want to be a different dad,
Yeah.
right, from how he was a dad to me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the realities are different, right? My kids are constantly in my space, so
Yeah.
there's no way that I was not always in his space.
Mm-hmm.
I was always in my mother's space,
Mm-hmm.
right? So those realities are different for me and him. And he's an amazing granddad, right? When I take the kids to Maryland, he takes good care of them. Sometimes you feel like, God, he takes better care of the kids that
I feel like it's always like
that
that 100% of the time. It's like
right.
the things that they excuse, the things that they let the kids do, and the way they treat those children, totally different from how they raised us.
Yes, and I'm like, really? Where? So it's only going. We're only going to know um, um, the second generation, right? When you see back and look at your kids, and if we're blessed to see grandkids and see how our kids are then able to transition, because I don't have nothing to look up to and then say this is the standard that I'm my
Setting.
my, my yes, my friends and I, if they have an issue, we go back and forth. I say, why don't you try this other way, right? When the child is doing something wrong, and I've tried this. Why don't you try this? Me, this is how it works for me. So we're
Mm,
constantly talking to each other, and we're learning as we go. Every
yeah.
day is a learning. Yeah,
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Now, do you think there is a difference between being a father and a dad?
I saw Steve Harvey try to explain that the other day, and I think I disagree. Because I think that this whole thing is coming from a position of like there's going to be a stepdad in the picture, right? Or somebody that can play a role. There's a lot of people that said I had my father, but my uncle who raised me, right? You remember you're in the village and there's some one of your kids are very brilliant, and you know there are no opportunities in this village, and you send her or him to another part for that development, and then they grow up there with that person, and that person becomes their dad, but they know their father, right? Like anybody can be a father because they assume that a father is just the sperm
Sperm
donor,
donor.
and then the dad now is the one who has provided all of this. And I disagree, because there was a man on Facebook who was saying that he's about to break up with his girlfriend, right? His fiance. He met her when the daughter was 3, right? And he took that fatherly role of raising this 3-year-old, right? But he never got married to her mom, but he did everything. He was there, attended everything, prom, and went through college. He paid for her college. He was the father or dad. I don't know which one would be, but he was that figure that the child knew, right? But eventually, her biological father came into her life right after college, right? And she was getting ready to get married, right? And her one ask of her dad was that she wants her biological father to
Walk
walk
her
her
down
down
the
the
aisle.
aisle.
I knew that was gonna come.
This man lost everything. He was going crazy. He said he's not paying. You know, in the African American culture, the woman's family pays for the wedding, right? So he said he's pulling out. He's breaking up and he's not paying for the wedding. That this is a girl, I paid her tuition, and she's gonna come ask me that some other man that she barely knows wants to walk her down the aisle, right? And everybody was calming him down. But why didn't you marry the mother? Maybe she would have seen you different. Maybe this, that. I'm like, no, the biological father is there. The day that he shows up, I'm telling you, if he shows up and he shows up right and he's really not cuckoo and everything like that, that girl is gonna say, Dad, walk me down the aisle. So what's the difference now between a father and a dad in that case?
Well, I mean, it's based off of the girl's judgment. I would not place that as a generalized definition or differentiation. Honestly, I will be hurt if that was me. And I think you will be hurt as well if, someone did that to you. Especially, I'm sure the girl probably called him dad too, because he was in her life when she was like, what, 3 till now. You know what I mean? So, I honestly believe that there is a difference, and I respect that difference honestly because parenting is not for the faint of heart, and parenting a human who's not even yours, that is such a very admirable act. And if it's rewarded by you being considered a dad, that's good. But I really feel like um, a dad is more important than a father. That's just how I look at it.
So when the father is the dad,
Yeah,
does
equally
the
as important
so like me, I'm a father and a
than a
dad, right?
dad.
Because
Yeah,
I'm there, I'm present.
yeah.
Um, See, those distinctions begin to come in, right? Because the world is very accommodating of the new things, right? Like, um, a two father household, right? Or a two mother household or whatever different. So we start to create this new narrative of a dad and a father, right? Because in a two-man household, I'm sure that battle is going on who is the father. Or do you have two dads or do you have a father and a dad? I just think that this is accommodating language, right? I what is the this? I honestly cannot really pinpoint. The distinction is very clear when the dad is or the father's not present, right? Or he's there and he's just a distant, he's out of the home, right? And then there's another man in the picture. And so my little sister, but she's my cousin. She grew up in our house. And for the my our youngest brother never even knew that she's actually a cousin, right? It's my aunt's child, but she grew up with us, so she's more of a sibling than a cousin. And she called my mom mommy, like all of us did, right? And she called her mom aunt, right? Auntie, right? Yeah. Yeah, she did call her mom. Like when we were growing up, her mom was already here. We were back home. She would call. When back home, once your family call, all of you gather around the phone back then, and so yeah, everybody would have their turn. Hi, auntie. Hi, auntie. Hi, auntie. And she would do the same thing. So when she grew up, she was in high school, CPC Valley. That's when the whole narrative, how her mom started to push back that no, actually, I'm not your auntie. I'm actually your mother, right? And she was the only one among us that had that distinction, that had to figure out how to call her mom, but she was not going to change how she calls her auntie, which is her mom now, right? Right. So it was so hard for her. This girl struggled with this. Then she settled with this whole mommy and mom, because when she's trying to tell us who is doing something, we also were getting confused. Okay, is it auntie or is it mommy? Like, you understand? Because she's like, I spoke to mom, and she says we should do this thing, and I'm like, who? Right? Like, which of them did you speak to? Because mom is auntie for me, right? But it's mom for you, right? So she had to sit us down and say, mom is who you refer to as auntie, and mommy is mommy for everybody, right? So you see how when a child is raised in this situation, it's not technically a broken home, but when you didn't want to say broken home, and you need to look at those stats, by the way, I know we didn't talk about it. Those stats are terrible, especially for the black family. When you say you don't want to talk about it, you don't want to call it a broken home. The fatherless home, they don't say a dadless home, they say a fatherless home, right? That's so when you said a dad is more important, but the stats for fatherless homes, especially for black homes, it's terrible. And we're the third we're second minority in this country. So first the whites were the majority, then Latinos, then us blacks, because they include all of us African Americans and immigrants, right? The statistics, if you I didn't bring them, but we would have talked about them so that you see how bad it is for the black family that is constantly without a father, right? And so when we have this distinction, I think for me we should lose it, right? A father is a dad, a stepdad.
Well, I mean, I said that with respect to commenting on what you just said about fatherless home. I guess it's not a dad's home because dads should always be present. That's how I look at it, right? Now, um, you know, just because I said a dad is more important than a father does not necessarily mean that well, it's not mutually exclusive, right? And also it doesn't mean that a dad is always only there because the father is not there. A father can still be a dad, like you said, whether the family is together or separated or whatever. There are very awesome dads who are not with the mother of their children and are still present, as fathers. I honestly think I look at a father as just like a box that you check if you're filling a form, father, mother. They don't say dad or whatever. You know what I mean? Now, I feel like a dad is more important because to be a dad, it takes a lot of work. It doesn't take a lot of work to be a father. He literally ejaculates sperm and that's it. It takes a lot of work to be to be a dad. You know what I mean? And you are definitely doing a great job and extremely blessed if you are a father and a dad. But not all fathers have the capability of being a dad, and that's why it's very important to for men to be a dad, whether to their own children or to their adopted children or to whoever they choose to raise, you know. I mean, I live with my adopted sister who's very, very younger than I am, and I considered myself a mom even before I officially became a mom because I literally raised her, So that's just a perspective that I'm looking for, but I'm not trying to say they're mutually exclusive. And to me, that's why I feel like it's very important for us to define both roles, because to me I believe that they're very different and we need to appreciate them for what they are. Well, because the mothers are always the ones who remain with the parent, with the kids for the most part. I actually have friends who are men and they have separated from their significant others or the mother of their children, and they have full custody of the children. Of course, yeah. The thing is also that it's very common, like you said, based on the statistics. I would tell you that I would imagine that the same statistics are very low for motherless homes compared to father, right? So I feel like that's why it's not, yeah, they do exist, obviously. And obviously I give you an example. So I feel like that's why it's not a very common lingo in, as part of our vocabulary, because it's very rare, but it definitely exists. Honestly, to me, I think it also takes a lot of work to be a mom than a mother. Okay, now you're biased. Okay, you are biased. You are biased. That's what I. All right. So it wasn't a matter of men versus women. We're talking about fatherhood, right? So that's why I spoke about that. Now, if we're talking about motherhood, of course I'm going to bring that up as well. But I was talking with respect to the topic of conversation today.
No, I, I don't know. Maybe I am. But I push things. I like to see things in context, right? Like it should be fair across the board. I'm a guy who preaches a lot of fairness, right? So I the reasons sometimes where I push back is not because it may not be right. I feel like it's because we are not putting the same pressure on the other side. Because it takes a man and a woman to have a child, right? Or a sperm and an egg. Or somebody shows up a sperm. So a girl was posting on Facebook and saying that you don't need a man to have a child. You could go to a sperm bank. I mean, you still need a sperm because sperms don't fall from trees. A man went there and deposited it. So you don't need a man physically, but you need what he produces, right? So for me, I try to say if you're putting this pressure on saying that father, they're giving this grand picture. Maybe because, like you said, the fatherless homes, fathers are more absent, right? Fathers are more hands off than women. So there's the pressure to then educate men to be more fathers and dads, right?
Yeah.
It's a blessing. It's a role that men should embrace, as opposed to maybe if that's the angle where they're going to
Yeah.
just to make men come back to the home, then okay, yes, then I agree and I see that picture because it's very important. Communities without men are terrible communities,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Yes. That's why the black community is struggling because the men are absent
That's
or
true.
the men have been conversation for a different day. Um
Oh my gosh. You mean the men have been expelled?
they have been feminized, right?
Well,
Yeah, is it what? How do you say? Emasculated,
yeah.
right? So
I don't really side with
yes.
you using women being masculine, like being,
Oh
masculine
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
men
Yeah, that's the thing.
emasculated and things like that, because it's like you put masculine and feminine in a box, and now in, I mean, maybe it would have been fair enough in our parents generation because it was literally distinct, like the woman at home taking care and then the man out there working and coming back, you know what I mean? But now I feel like that bridge, or no, there's a bridge between both roles, you know, it could go either way, you know what I mean? And to me, I won't, if I go to someone's house and I see the man helping out, like doing certain things that, you know, I really don't think, not I don't, it's not like I even think a man should do this, whatever. Like if it works for them, hey, if they're happy, I'm happy. You know what I mean? But just because I believe that a man should be in the office and a woman should be in the kitchen does not mean that I should judge if a woman is actually in the office and the man in the kitchen. Because now you have stay at home dads who are the ones running the show at home while the
They
women
have a
go,
run.
while the women,
Yeah.
you know, but to you, you will look at that as a man being emasculated, right? No, it's
Yes, yes,
probably two
very,
people
very.
coming together and making that financial decision. Like the woman could be a CEO, the man could, you know, probably feel like, hey, if I make this sacrifice, then it will be good for our family. So why will you think that it's not fair for a stay-at-home dad to be normalized, but it's okay for a stay-at-home mom to be normalized? Because you're talking about fairness, you know. So I don't want you to put women into boxes and men into different boxes. To me, I think there's some kind of fluidity between both roles that can easily be compromised depending on the structure of that marriage or the home.
Um, you carried a baby inside of you for
Yeah.
9 months, right? Your connection to that baby is nobody. There's not
Yeah.
anybody on earth that can rival that connection.
Mhm.
That man has to wait for that baby to come out of you before he starts to connect. There's connection between him and the baby when he's talking and the baby listens to his voice, but he doesn't know,
Mhm.
right? Okay. Sometimes the mom is like when the baby hears your voice, there's a kick and stuff like that. So we don't know whether is that's what the baby is reacting to. Nobody knows.
Mhm.
But the baby reacts to you when the baby comes out and the baby can feel you, feel your heart. But that can be anybody,
Mhm.
right? That can be any man from anywhere, right?
Mhm.
The baby is just gonna react to a warm body, right?
Mhm.
So your connection to that baby cannot be measured with anything. So there are roles. So a woman is naturally endowed with nurturing abilities. You can't buy that at a supermarket. You cannot learn that at school. There's no program that can make a man nurture as good as a woman. So men are that. So men can nurture better. So a man would take a baby, and you would think that that's a woman working with a baby, right? But some women, this is just innate with a woman, right? All your mothers and grandmothers do is shape it, right? But it's already in you. They just kind of like mold it so that you, as you grow to become a mother, you already know what your role is and how you're gonna maneuver, right? Okay, the man is just out there around you, walking around these things, right? That's why I say in the home, it's a woman that leads. When you say a man is helping out and doing dishes, let me ask you: when you go to buy furniture, right? When you and your husband go to a furniture store, is he the one going out there? Okay, I want this one. I want this one. The end decision is your decision, and he
Yeah, it
knows
could
that.
be my
Any good man.
decision or it could also be based on our decision collectively. It's not either or. It's
How,
not
how's,
mutually
how's it
exclusive.
how's it a collective decision? Like how is that even possible? I like very crazy colors, right? And my wife is just gonna be like, please, you're not a single man no more. Just
No, but
come.
okay,
You're here.
that's
You're
you,
here to
right?
probably.
That's you, but I could picture my husband and I, we moved into a new house, and trust me, my husband's extremely laid back, but to me, I honestly value his own opinion. You know, like, hey, what do you think about this? Okay, or he would send, we have an idea of what we want, and he would send me photos as well, like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? You know, like, to me, I actually value a collective decision more because it's going to make me more comfortable than if I had to enforce something or if he had to enforce something. So again, just goes to say that, Tim, I mean, whatever dynamic. that happens. If your wife literally is the one choosing the furniture and stuff like that, trust me, with her creative ideas, definitely, if that's her strong forte, then hey, go ahead and do it. But, I will not say that, oh, she's the one who has to do that all the time, because that's how it's supposed to be.
Home moms because they were saying that they're the ones taking women 100 years back, right? So after a while, white stay at home moms started to push back, right? Like I picked this. There's a girl on TikTok that's her role. She pushes back on feminism on saying that this is what I want. I'm this qualification. If I want to get a job today, I will get a job. I will do this, but this is what I would rather do, right? And you need to see the comment section. So there's a push to also just kind of destroy traditional ways. Traditional ways are kicked in the 21st 2003 kind of post-COVID era, right? And so there's this whole we need to we need to level up kind of thing, right? A woman needs to have a seat at the table, and a woman needs to have, like, she never had a seat before. For me, a woman is a super powerful human being. Anywhere that a woman does not have a seat, I don't even want to be there, right? So, uh, but there are times when a woman just knows that, okay, for me, I say this, right? I mean, a girl child grows up, gets married, takes a man's name, right? But that man would leave his family and will follow that woman and go anywhere that she's going to,
So does that mean
right?
he's emasculated?
No, no, no. It doesn't mean it's emasculated. That's not
But then
emasculation.
why would a
It just
stay-at-home dad be emasculated?
no, no, no. Like the essence of a man, the very essence of a man is his ability to be productive. A stay-at-home man is not productive.
uh,
Yeah, he's not
what?
productive.
A
Yes, a stay-at-home
stay-at-home
man is
a
not.
stay-at-home man
No,
or
he's not.
woman is definitely that's one of the hardest
A
jobs
stay
ever. Are
a,
you kidding
a
me?
stay-at-home woman is productive. That's
No, 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 no. I wouldn't agree with you.
no, no, no. A stay-at-home woman is productive, right? A stay-at-home woman is productive because she is in a role of nurturing as a mother, right? Her first ability is that one, the kids are set. So she is, first of all, in a natural state of being, right? That she is nurturing her home.
Okay,
That's
so
her.
what is the natural state of being for a man?
It's productivity. Like you said,
No.
his innate ability is to hustle.
Well, I
A
mean, well,
natural.
I thought you were not trying to put men into those kind of boxes before
No,
when
no,
I
no, no.
said
They
that.
are in
But
boxes.
but no, I honestly think you are diminishing the essence of a stay-at-home person, man or woman, by saying that they're not productive. Trust me, just
No, no,
because
no.
they're
A
not
woman
going
is
to the
very
office
productive.
does not mean that they're not productive.
No, no,
I
no.
can bet
A
you.
woman is very productive. I did a post one day and I said a stay-at-home woman should be able to earn up for everything that she does. She should be a six-figure earner.
How come are they not productive?
No, that's what I say. It's a stay-at-home woman is in her element, a mom. So I can value her productivity and say she is a six-figure earner, right? A
I think
stay-at-home
men
man
should also
is this
be
new
in their
modern
element.
stuff that they no, no, no. A stay-at-home man is this new modern thing that people are trying
It's
to
not
create and
modern.
force
It's not
down,
modern. There's some men who
emasculating men to think
choose to
that you
do
can go.
that. The same
No,
way
no, no.
you're saying that a stay-at-home mom, well, feminists were trying to say stay-at-home moms were taking time back, like as in taking
Yes.
us backwards 100 years, and you were defending the lady who made that decision. I want to officially defend the man, every single man who decides that let me stay at home and take care of the kids. That's why there are men who are passionate about taking care of kids, and there are also kids who can attest to the fact that their dads were more present than their mothers, regardless of the fact that the mother actually gave birth to the child. That's why some mothers actually put up the kids for adoption, regardless of the fact that they have carried that child for 9 months. But there are some dads who are actually extremely hands on and nurturing to children and actually make that decision that, hey, I want to stay at home and take care of this kid if this is what's going to push us higher and higher. To me, I don't judge because you don't know the family dynamics. You don't know the plans that they have. Maybe the man is like, okay, let me stay at home for 6 months and, you do this, whatever you have to do. And then I come back, like we switch or whatever. I don't know. But to me, I feel like a man can equally be as productive taking care of kids. I mean, that's why you send, I think honestly, you're trying to insinuate that because a woman carried a child for 9 months, she's better off taking care of the children. But then you send your kids to daycare. Those people have not carried your children for 9 months. Those people, you have men who actually take care of your children in some daycares. So, I mean,
I'm not comfortable with that. The first day that
course
I
you're not
saw that, I
comfortable
almost
with
had a
that. It's
heart
new.
attack.
It's a new dynamic. Of course, they're like three male teachers in my daughter's daycare as well. But then I wouldn't even say I'm not comfortable with that because they will never have two men at a time. They have to have at least two teachers in class with the children. So I'm really
But they have to have
hardworking.
a woman in there, right?
Well, yeah, they have a
They can have
woman.
two
Just
women. They can have two women teachers, but they're never gonna have two men.
Well, I mean, the thing is that this even the shortage of men, they don't even teach in like the same classes because they are different classes. Honestly, it's an academy. It's not necessarily like a daycare. Daycare is like different levels. But anyways, I'm just saying that to me, I will not think a man is emasculated if he chooses to take care of kids, and he could equally be
Well,
as productive.
let me say this real quick. When you say a few things that, and you did mention something about CEO. See, when you say stuff, you're always saying that the woman is a go-getter, right? Like she has to achieve something, right? And that's why she's not at home, right? As if it's mutually
Well,
exclusive.
the
Like
same
you
thing.
say,
The man
okay,
is a hustler, as you said in your words, right?
right. Uh, but so we're saying here that, okay, again, women have come of age. Women are becoming CEOs. Women are becoming successful business people, billionaires and stuff, right? And uh, uh, Kanye, his ex-wife, who is this? I don't do celebrities. Kim Kardashian. Kim Kardashian made a post um, that being a single mother is hard, right? And people lost their God-given mind that this billionaire is saying that being a single mother is hard. She has like 20 nannies and stuff. Maybe you don't even touch the child literally. So people really went off of her saying that single mother is hard from a billionaire. So you even see that sometimes there's some things that society does not accept for other people to say. A billionaire single mother cannot even say that it's hard for her to be a single mother. Society does not accept that, right? Do you then agree that she can say nobody understands her pain,
Yeah.
right?
And that's why I
And
don't
I did.
judge, and you shouldn't.
I understood, but the conversation cannot only center because for me, a woman should be able to work. There's no reason why a woman cannot achieve the things that she wants to achieve,
Yeah.
right? I don't want marriage to limit my daughters, right? But I also don't want that a man should feel like for him to see his wife achieve these grand things that she wants to achieve, he needs to dial back all his masculinity. Doesn't even have his sack no more.
No.
He has to go stay somewhere in the back. His voice cannot be heard.
Of
Like
course
like
not. Of
like
course
like
not.
man up,
Of course not.
right?
But the problem I'm having is that you are equating all of that dialing back to taking care of children. That's the most difficult, just the same way that you said women should be earning six figures. That I believe that means you appreciate how hard it is to just take
It
care of
is. It is
kids.
hard.
So
It
why
is
don't
hard.
you think that it's also hard for a man? Like that's a challenge. That's actually a very tough job. It's not because you're belittling the whole taking care of kids when it comes to men. Like, nah, men shouldn't do that because it makes them
because
weak, it makes them emasculated.
it's
No,
not in
but it's
our
not
see
generalized.
when you go to the courts in this country to this today 2023, when you are separating with your spouse
See,
and
they'll
you're
favor
going
the
for
woman,
custody,
blah blah.
it always favors the woman. There's not even in a world that's equal, right?
Okay,
Where we say
forget
men
about
and
all of that.
I should forget
No, no,
about
no, I'm
that.
saying because we know that, right? It's
Okay,
norm, it's normal.
but
Like,
there's a
forget about
reason
that,
for
but that
that,
should
right?
not be a reason why you are emasculating men who choose to take
No,
care
no,
of
no,
their
no. It is.
kids.
I mean, the system understands and they say your role is to provide money. The only time they take a child from the woman, she has to have done the unthinkable, or she voluntarily surrenders because she has a career to uphold, right? She's a VP, CEO, she's something, or she's very ambitious, right? She feels like this man can take care of this child, right? And I'm willing to pay child support, but it's like 1 or 2% of the population. As you show up in court, they just see your black face. They're like you've already lost. Men have to fight to the to destroy the woman to be able to get the kid.
So that brings me to, since you're definitely putting men and women into a box, into
We are in
boxes.
boxes.
Yeah, a man's role, like you said, is to be that hustler and provide. But do you know, and I'm talking based off of experience, especially from talking to my mom, who has been like an international health worker and has experienced a lot of especially marginalized communities in Africa. Um, in a
Well,
lot
sorry,
of,
what's a marginalized community in Africa? Let's just put it in
well, I'm
context. What
talking
would be a
about like
margin?
poverty, like,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
the
Because here,
marginalized communities.
marginalized community would be something
I'm
else,
not talking
right?
about
Like
women marginalized. That's not where I'm going. I'm just
no, no,
talking
no.
about
I
like the
would thinking the
poor.
Rainbow Coalition marginalized because
No.
that's the new marginalized community. So that's
Oh
what I was
boy.
thinking in Africa. But poverty,
Yeah, like
poverty,
the
where
poor
poverty,
and
yeah.
remote communities in Africa, right?
Hmm.
Um, actually in a majority, if not all of those communities, do you know who are the breadwinners?
The mothers,
Of course, they're the ones going out there
yes.
working and, bringing in the food, bringing in the money, going to the markets, paying the children. Like, literally the dads, or the fathers are literally sperm donors. So that's why I'm trying to tell you that this is not even something that's like in recent times that people are changing and making the men emasculated. Trust me, if we're talking about emasculation, since you're saying that the role of the man is to be the hustler, then those men are definitely emasculated because they're not doing anything. They're literally just sitting there, not doing anything. The women are literally the ones going out there hustling, providing, protecting, and also nurturing. They're literally doing every single thing. So that's why I'm saying that I don't want to put people in boxes just because what a man can do, a woman can also do, and vice versa. So if a man chooses, and I didn't even say if a man is told, I've always said if a man chooses, it's a choice to take care of their kids. And I actually know people who have done that. I mean, they weren't necessarily stay at home moms, sorry, stay at home dads, but they have separated and they actually had full custody of the kids. They choose to wake up in the morning and braid the girl's hair and take care of this boy and take them to school and do
They
all of
braid
that.
the girl's hair.
Oh yeah, you should know how to braid your daughter's hair, sir. Please,
I know.
just yeah. So if you know how to braid your daughter's hair, I guess you're emasculated as well, right? So yeah, but I'm just trying to say that those are things that the mothers typically do, right? Like braiding the hair, make sure that you see men who even like play with their kids, let the kids paint their nails. I mean, those are just acts of being present in the child's life. You have to compromise certain beliefs that you have to not feel emasculated if you let your daughter paint your nails or do certain things to you. It's just like they look at you as your dad, as their dad and their father, but they also look at you as their role model, of course. And in that sense, they're looking at you as your friend. Like, this is my best friend. This is my man, like you said, like to them, they don't look at it in a romantic way, obviously, like we do as adults, but they would look at it like, if this is my person, I think the person will let me do whatever I want to do with them in a playful manner, like when they're playing in that sense. But it won't mean that you're not nurturing in that sense, because I think it's definitely nurturing for you to let your daughter to paint your nails or to even put makeup on your face, even though you don't like it, but it's something that you would do just for them. So, long story short, or bottom line is, to me, I don't think that we should like put people in boxes or at least judge certain people's decisions to do certain things. And I know that we don't share the same outlook. So let's agree to disagree.
I know we're gonna agree to disagree, but let me say something from my school of thought. I'm blessed to have kids who have siblings. I don't have a one child scenario where they don't have somebody to play with. So you have your sisters to cortex their nails and you all do makeup. They mess their mother's makeup, right? She has changed racks upon racks, and every time she changes it, they figure a way to get in there. They love to be in her makeup space. Nobody better not come down to me and do no makeup for me. No, it's not even something that we are going to entertain. No, right? You have your
And that's
sisters. They
you,
can
you know?
they can. No, I want to see, somebody just recently posted a picture of a man in a tutu
Yeah.
with his daughter, right? Um, he has a tutu, right? And he's playing with his daughter. Some people are like, "Oh my God, this is so beautiful." But why is that the modern father or the modern dad?
We're not even trying to be a modern or old school or whatever. That's just a father. That is a father.
I
Whether
don't have
modern or
to.
whatever.
Men shouldn't have to do all of this rah to
No,
be
no,
father
no.
of
Oh
a
my
girl child.
goodness.
So when I have a boy child, what do I do? Am I walking around here with engine oil and spanners and stuff so that he feels like he's a man? Why is it that when you have girls, you have to do all these feminine things to accommodate her? Right? Where
The
I
thing is,
love things
the
for
thing is,
me.
you look at these feminine things and they're more highlighted, because for the guys, a lot of mothers do masculine things in your words, or at least in your notion, and it's so normalized that people don't even like think it, think otherwise. But when a man does that, it's all, oh my god, you're emasculated and stuff like that. Men would like to, like, got boys would like to play with a ball, like a mom will play with a ball with her son, and no one would think about it as whatever, as, oh no, you're trying to be a masculine. No, like a mother is just playing with a ball with her son. Now if a girl wants to do makeup with her father, the story changes. let's
Yeah,
keep that for,
and
let's keep that for
it
another
should,
time.
because see, because right, we see that we're back to the story with your mom as she travels. We started this conversation of saying how our African mothers have been champions, warriors, right, powerful beings, right. That picture in your background encapsulates that African mother, right. Uh, the African mother is a different being, and I think Asian, Latino, Hispanic mothers, and you hear the stories of Hispanic grandmothers. It feels like that's a typical
African
African
grandma,
mother,
yeah.
right? Even Asian mother. So
Yeah.
it is something that is not a Western concept. That a woman is the foundation of a family, right? And when you change that role, as Western society has done, right, to remove a woman as the backbone, the foundation, right? Women, like you said, have always wore multiple hats, right? They have been hard workers, gone to school, educated themselves, raised families, raised their man child, raised all of these things. And at the end of the day, when they come to say who is the head of this family, she will still push this man that doesn't do nothing in front and says that's who you need to talk to. When they ask oh, you know, they talk for me, go to B one, talk for B, Papa, talk for Cynthia, Papa. That's who, right? That's who she constantly pushes up front, right? And everybody sees the man as everything is working in the family, right? And the man takes credit, but what was that saying? I think modern women will be changing that saying. Behind every successful man is a powerful woman. Is that the saying? Has it changed? Because we know modern women, everything is
Are
changing,
you
right?
being sarcastic or what?
It's a joke, right? Right, right.
You have something
Remember,
against
remember, in
feminists.
your poster, you are a host. You can now put yourself as a modern woman. You have to stay in your capacity as
No,
a
no,
host,
no.
right?
I feel like you pick and choose. I feel like, honestly, from what I've gotten, I feel like you pick and choose what you want to stay modern and what you want to stay traditional or old school, right? Because
Like what? Give an example.
in the same light, we were just talking about our dad's parenting versus our parenting. There's a reason why you want to change the trajectory. There's a reason why you want to set new standards. There's a reason why you want your children to be in your space. There's a reason why you were not in your dad's space versus your mom. And there's a reason why you want to be more involved. It doesn't mean that you're not nurturing. It doesn't mean that you're trying to take the place of your wife to nurture. It's just that the situation surrounding everything, your environment and times have changed. So you will not say that comparing you and your parenting or fathering style to that of your dad means that you are emasculated because your kids now are kind of like open with you, or you're helping your, like, you, okay, someone could look back, or one of your friends if they're crazy enough, could look back at you leaving them in the club to come to see your wife as like, oh, she's running things in your house and bringing you from the controlling you and taking you from the club. No, like, you made that decision to do that because you wanted to help your wife with your daughter. But I could tell you our fathers would never do that because they would think that they're emasculated, like a woman cannot tell me what to do, and stuff like that. So that's why I'm saying that I feel like you are picking and choosing where you want men to be where you want men to not be emasculated and not. And but to me, I feel like at the end of the day, it's perspective, because hey, what should have happened if you didn't leave the club to help your wife out? She probably would have gone crazy postpartum, or the child would have probably cried until, I don't know, something could have happened. But it was your choice to leave and help your wife. And it was such a heart melting moment for you. A very, one of those moments that you probably would never forget, especially as someone who cannot sing. So that's why I'm saying that I will not judge you leaving your friends to go help your wife. It doesn't mean you're emasculated. If anything, it means you're a man. Like, that's what you should do. So let's not judge, and
No, I'm
let's
not
point
judging.
fingers
I'm not
at
judging. If
let's
I'm
not point fingers like, oh, because I will be like, based on your train of thought, and just based on your own perspective, if I'm using that like strictly, I would be like, oh, your woman is the one running things in your house. If she can make you leave your friends to come and help her, things like that. But that's obviously not the case, so that's just my
and
probably my last word because we're running. So we'll be going
yes,
on and on
we
on this.
see me. We could have these conversations forever and a day. But yes, I don't. I would. You did say let's agree to disagree.
Right. Well, it was really great having your insight, though, honestly. It's always good when we disagree. And I know we're going to disagree in so many more topics. I look forward to them. Now, what last words, hopefully not controversial, do you have to give to, man, or black man, or African man, or millennial man, or just man in this time and age in Africa or in the diaspora? What words of wisdom and encouragement do you have for them?
Our communities are being decimated with this whole, I don't know, fatherless homes. And we need to be able to fix that. We need to be able to create strong men. I was looking for the saying: hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. And weak men create hard times. If we have a fatherless epidemic right now, which is affecting us. The rate of dropouts for our kids, the kids not going to college, getting locked up, drugs.
Yeah.
It's because so we're experiencing hard times right now in our community.
Yeah.
And if we're experiencing hard time from what I just said, it means weak men are creating those hard times,
Yeah.
right? And if there are strong men out there who believe they're strong men and they're the backbone of the community, and when I say they're the people that are supposed to be the pillar why the women operate, because the black man needs his black woman, the pillars of the community. We need to come back as a community and sit and have conversations with our women and be like, we need to raise young men and women who can then continue a tradition, a legacy of growth and prosperity, because our communities are just being destroyed. Right. And we're not speaking with one voice. We're having this group of people who are speaking in their own capacity. I could do all bad by myself. I could do this by myself. And we have men who are like, I'm hands off. I don't care. If she wants to fly, she can fly. I really don't care. And we need to be able to change that. So if you are a man, my plea goes out to the man. If you are a man and you fathered a child, you should do the right thing to be in that child. It starts with you. I did put the responsibility at one point on the woman, but that would be a conversation for another day. But it does start, yes, because women are, you're loving, but women control access to birth, right? So I did put it on them, but conversation for a different day. You said no controversy, so no controversy.
You just had to throw that in there, right? You had to sprinkle that in there.
I had to work you up a little bit.
Right?
So, so, so we need men to come back, right, and be the face, the role model that these kids want to see. And it starts from there so that we build the next generation. The next generation of black kids are going to have to pay a big price because fathers have abandoned their responsibilities and their role in the community as community builders. Right. So we need to go back to the drawing board and be a brother's keeper. I need to know that my best friend, my brother, my younger brother, my cousins, everybody, my soccer teammates, my friend that I party with. If your wife says, "Well, come house, I need help with picking," you should stop drinking, put the bottle down, and drive home and go take care of your responsibility. It is so very important that we have that. We come back to a place where we have that as a dimension where men are present in the children's life, and then we'll see the positive, because in the white community we don't see what's happening. We don't see this thing that's happening in our community, right? We don't see it. You when they talk about single mother, you will hardly ever see a picture of a white woman, right? It's always a brown. I mean, it's also conditioned that way, right? They're white single mothers, but they don't brand it as a grand thing, as it's okay to be a single mother, right? That is only something that they sell to us minorities, right? Especially us blacks, right? So we need to be able to change that narrative, and it starts with us men to own up, take care of our responsibilities.
Thank you very much for sharing that. And thank you for encouraging men to be stay at home dads. Just plain.
Ah, my heart.
Oh my goodness. Well, it was such a great and enlightening conversation, full of a lot of interesting outlooks. But thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation with us. We look forward to having even more conversations on other topics. You definitely have an interesting outlook on things. So I look forward to exploring that more. But how can the audience reach out to you if they want to fight you?
Exactly, exactly. If they want to fight me, because so my Facebook handle is 1314 in French, Treize Quatorze, right? So
Right.
it's not open to the public because I try to limit the amount of fight one man can handle, right? But if you can sneak yourself in and bring a fight, I love a good debate. Like I said,
Right.
I love people who can handle their own. I don't do emotional debate. Like you start a conversation and when I hit back and you're like, "Oh my God, you're fighting a woman." No, if you want to have a conversation, you want to have a conversation. No, I will hit back, right?
Right.
Because I see you as an equal,
Yeah.
right? So I expect you to hit me, and
Yeah.
I hit back. Right, so don't pull the whole don't come and do the whole, oh my God, you're not even ashamed of yourself. A real man is gonna stand down. You know, the whole stuff. So if you want to engage on anything, any
Right.
topic, because I can go from 0 to 100 on almost about anything, right? So, and you're ready for that kind of conversation, please be my guest. Send me a friend request. We'll
Okay.
engage live. Put your points. It's only based on points. Let's not get personal. Hit
Right.
me and right, because when people are losing debates, they start to call you names.
Right.
Toxic masculinity starts
Oh my
popping up.
gosh.
Misogynistic. Okay, your
Right.
wife is suffering. I've heard everything, right? Like, so
Right.
people just feel like I'm standing on my wife's shoulder and just suppressing her when they see the things I post on Facebook, right?
Right.
And then they hear that I have all girls. They're like, oh my God, somebody go
Ah!
rescue those poor kids.
Right. Well, thank God he didn't get emotional in this conversation. And thank you again for coming up. And I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.
All right, thank you. Thank you.